Thank you very much, Philip. So now, pass the word to Phil. So maybe you can share with us a bit of IBM's work at the BOP, experiences, learnings, and well, the role of the data for achieving inclusive economic growth. So
certainly. Well, yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. I feel suitably intimidated not only by my esteemed panellists, but also the fact that I'm representing the corporate sector. So go easy on me and subsequent questions. So my name's Phil Westcott. I've got a background mainly in sort of big industry, I guess you'd call it, even prior to IBM. But I have spent some time in non-profits and start-up enterprises, so I've got a bit of a broader view. My day job with IBM is on the Smarter Cities and Smarter Energy program the company has. I'm actually based in London, but I'll be spending quite a lot of my time in Kuala Lumpur from the new year. So it's very much, my point of view is at the growth markets. So part of the perspective that I'm going to give tonight is not from IBM's CSR activities. It's talking about what how the corporates can influence and help to drive inclusive economic development based on what you might call, or Prahab might call, enlightened self-interest. So what's driving corporates to drive some of the business models and some of the roles we can play in based on the pyramid and inclusive economic growth. So round about 18 months ago, I launched a new initiative in IBM that's called Smarter Impact, and it's really galvanising all the sort of great solutions and great people and huge amounts of R&D the company spends. 440,000 employees worldwide, 6 billion a year in R&D, trying to harness some of that to drive the development agenda. And I think there's some really exciting technology that IBM and others are on the cutting edge of that can really support the development agenda, and hopefully some of that will come out in the panel as we talk. But I also want to mention the fact that IBM as a B2B enterprise, we work with corporates and indeed public sector and indeed third sector all across the globe, and gives us a visibility across all different industries and what their approach to the developing markets are, and indeed gives us a bit of a visibility in how we can collaborate. And I think, and you won't be surprised here, that I think that there's a real key for data and data collaboration, and I'll be coming on to some of that in the panel. But generally, I think while there are challenges ahead, I think there are really some positive trends that I've seen from my perspective. One of them is the political pressures, certainly feeling here in the UK, is for greater collaboration between the sectors. So, DFID's policy is more around getting the NGOs to collaborate more with the private sector. You see academia themselves encouraging to make their research commercialised, so engaging more with the private sector. And we've got some great initiatives we do with LSE at the moment as an example of that. I also think that some of, like the UN Sustainable Energy for All, Judy touched on the energy access pillar of that initiative, but there is also an energy efficiencies and a renewable pillar within the Sustainable Energy for All initiative. And from its very design and Ban Ki-moon and Dr. Young Keller's vision, that has had a collaboration element between private sector, public sector and the development sector. So I think there's good political impetus supporting us. Secondly, I'm seeing in private sector, in business leadership, an increasing trend for this enlightened self-interest. I believe that the Generation Y that are going to be the CEOs of 10, 15 years' time are going to be motivated by more than just a single bottom line. It's going to be corporations that have a positive impact on the world. So I'm hopeful from a leadership point of view. I'm also as you'd expect, I've got great hopes for what technology can do for the development sector. And I think it's relevant to note at this time that there are more transistors on the planet than grains of rice. And each transistor represents a data source. And so by intelligent consolidation of that data and driving insight from it, that's what the IBM's business model is based on. But I think there's a lot that can be done for development, and I can talk about, if we have time in the panel, about some of those examples. But one I will pick out, and it kind of builds on what Chris was talking about, BOP 2.0, where you're getting an opportunity to have greater communication with your beneficiaries. And the link between the funder and the beneficiary is now closing, which means traditional fundraising activities from the third sector and traditional charities need to both demonstrate impact, but they can also close the gap between the beneficiaries and what they see as their development needs and what the funders are funding. And that's all around crowdsourcing, social media, the huge number of mobile phones that are now owned by, if not the very bottom of the pyramid, certainly in the definition that Chris has given, the bottom 5 billion of the planet. There's huge proliferation of mobile phones. So this is an opportunity to connect, and I think I'm looking forward to this discussion because it's a vast area, but a very exciting one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.